Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Well, it's afternoon where I am. I want to start by saying I'm not going to do a long description of the PAT topic at this stage. Please leave a comment if you would like for me to make a video explaining what the topic is about and how to approach the topic. So in this video, I am going to start giving you a step-by-step how to start completing phase 1. And if you would like to have some more information on the topic, please let me know. So I'm going to start here just to show you what your documents look like. It's phase 1, a phase 2, a phase 3. Then you have your resources here. These resources are already saved for you on the topic, which this year is data protection. Please note that the examples that I am going to use throughout the step-by-step will be on this year's topic. So if you do have maybe a different topic, just replace whatever you have with the where I say examples on the data protection. So if we go into phase 1 here, you have your research report and a folder called sources. Please make sure that you actually save PDFs or whatever of the sources that you have actually used in the sources folder in your phase 1 folder. This is quite important. So now let's take a look at your research report, and we're going to start where you need to do the first thing. Research report, here we go. Okay. At this stage, because you're using the video, you will not need all these comments on the side. If you prefer to have them, you can leave it as is. If you prefer not to see these, you can go to review, go to your tracking group here, and just say no markup. So then you will be able to view your document just in the normal format. So the first thing we need to do is go to our file options, as we always do, and go to info here on the left-hand pane, properties, advanced properties, and please go and insert your information in there. So topic of the PAT, you can find that in your PAT document if you want a nice proper name there. Please make sure you change this date to 2022, CatPat grade 12 2022. Put your name and surname in there, and then you can also change this to your school's name if you are not in Phoenix High School, and make sure all your information is correct and say okay, so that this can appear on your cover page. I would also advise you to replace the picture on the cover page at this stage already, even though all the cover page marks you will only receive in phase 3. Then at least you know if something happens, or in any way when you get there your work is a little bit less, you know that your marks for your cover page are already there. So please replace this picture with a picture that suits your topic. You can go through that resources folder that you have and go into those resources for pictures, or Google a picture yourself. Okay, so the next step would then be to scroll a bit down. Please remember, we are not going to do anything to the table of contents or table of figures now. That is only going to be done in phase 3. Introduction is also only done in phase 3. We're not going to do anything there now. And we are going to go to the task definition. Okay. At this stage, I'm quickly going to open the assessment rubric, because our rule is we work according to our assessment rubric. Remember, we always switch in between those two documents. So I'm going to go to my folder again, and I don't have an assessment rubric in here. Let me see if it's in here. There we go, assessment rubric. And I'm just going to make sure that this is showing on your screen as well. There we go. Okay. So for grade 12, for phase 1, the first thing you actually get marks for is your task definition. As always, we have what is the current situation, What is the focus and purpose of the investigation? How will I go about the investigation considering the PAT requirements? And who is the target audience? So for those 4 marks, I've got a PowerPoint presentation for you. Again, I'm going to go to my documents here. Let me just go back a bit. This PowerPoint presentation here, you can use to complete your task definition. So I'm now going to open that one so that you can see what it looks like. And because you're using the video, you don't need to open yours. You can simply look at the video, but it is in your documents if you do find that you need to open it from your side. Okay, so the first thing is the problem. So I am only going to type out a description of the problem. Please make sure you do not give a solution in this paragraph that you're going to type. So we don't want to say data protection can be managed with passwords or using different passwords for different accounts. Don't do anything like that. All we can say is we are using more and more social media accounts. People are doing more of their business online and becoming more and more exposed to online attacks. People don't necessarily have all the information that they need to properly protect themselves from cyber attacks. You can go into those type of things, but please don't talk about solutions at this stage. So what is the current situation? What are the challenges of that situation? The next thing you're going to do is say what the focus of your investigation will be. So I will be investigating, maybe obviously you're going to have to focus on your specific problem here. If you're going into finances, you will say you will be investigating different methods to protect your financial security or your financial privacy. If you are going with social media accounts, you will say something about how teenagers specifically or young people can protect themselves from being catfished or, cyber attacks, people who want to clone their identities maybe. So depending on what your focus of your PAT is, you will be giving a description here of what you will be investigating, right? This next step, this section that I'm going to select for you on the screen now, you can copy and paste directly into your research document. The only thing you will need to change is this little word here. So let's just quickly go through this. This is where you will be answering the question of how you will go about conducting the investigation. I will gather information by making use of internet sources, websites, gathering questionnaires from who. Now you're already thinking of your target audience as well. So if my focus of my PAT for protecting my data and the security of is social media, then I will be gathering questionnaires probably from teenagers, young people, or maybe even adults, people who use social media the most. So you can even say that, setting up and gathering questionnaires from social media users. For example, if you're going more to the financial side, would you maybe try to target financial management companies? It has to be realistic though. So if you don't have the means of contacting financial management companies, then you can't say that you're gathering questionnaires from them. It has to be realistic. So just make sure that this who you replace with in phase 2, when you set up your questionnaire, who is that going to be given to complete? Okay, the rest is talking to experts, reading books and magazines, and so on. So the rest of this you can copy directly from here to this heading that you have in the research document. Okay. Now I'm going to skip a slide here and tell you to also go to slide 6, This one you can also copy exactly like that under the same section. Let me just quickly show you on the research report. So how am I going to present the information? You can go to the research report. Let me just find it here, research report. There you have what is the current situation. You're going to type your own paragraph there. What will the focus of my investigation be? Here you're going to type your own sentence or 2 or 3. Here you're going to now copy that one that I just said. I will talk to experts. I'll do the questionnaires. This you copy over here. And then you can also just copy that one that I just said, slide 6. You can just copy and paste in here as well. And then slide 5 talks about who is the target audience. Now, let me stand still there for a moment. Your target audience must be very specific and very realistic. Ask yourself the question, if I required you to really get these people in a room with you, would they be able to come and sit in a room with you? If you just say grade 12s, do you mean all the grade 12s in the entire world? No, that's unrealistic. It must be a realistic target audience. So if I am concerned about social media users in my school, then I can actually arrange with the principal that the learners of Phoenix High School come together in the hall, for example, and look at this presentation that you are putting together to make them aware of security problems with their social media accounts and how they can improve their security. If I am going to a financial aspect or any of these other points that you can take, really think of who you're going to get into a room. You're not necessarily going to be able to get all the financial management companies in Johannesburg or in Gauteng. How are you going to get those people in a room with you? So you can also email the presentation maybe to some people, create a YouTube video and say that you are going to invite financial companies to watch your presentation. So that is realistic. Just maybe put that extra information in there that you want to create a presentation with by creating a YouTube video, and you will be sending this link to a couple of financial management companies in the area or something like that. Just remember that you must try and keep it as realistic as possible. If you're saying your target group, ask yourself, how am I going to get this presentation to them, or how am I going to get these people in a room with me? Okay, so that's the task definition done and dusted then. I'm going to move on to the focus question. So if you're not done with your task definition right now, I suggest you pause the video and you complete the task definition and then continue after you're done. Okay. You can please remove this little heading over here, instructions for task definition. You can leave the questions in, but I always suggest that you rather take them out. It makes it look a little bit more professional when we get to the end of the PAT. Now your focus question. Let's quickly just go back to the assessment rubric here. The focus question is for 4 marks. In the first place, we need it to be clearly phrased and concise. This means that it must make sense. When I read that question, I understand what you are asking. So my suggestion is that you ask a parent, a friend, a brother, a sister, or whatever, to read this question and tell you whether it is a sensical question. Does it make sense? Because always when I mark, there are questions that are, the sentence construction is not very well organized, and the question doesn't really make sense. So please check that you have a proper sentence and that it makes sense. Will this question be researchable? In other words, if I ask this question, can I actually go and start doing research to find an answer to this question? If I ask, how can data be protected when using social media? Or how secure is our data online? How secure is our financial information and our finances with internet banking, whatever the case may be? Make sure that the question, if you read it, it's a question that we can research and find an answer for. Single sentence, make sure that you only have one sentence under your focus question, and otherwise you will lose that mark. So one single sentence, clearly relevant to the focus and point of the scenario topic. Read your PDF document that is your, now I can't find the word, sorry, your guide, your PAT guideline. I'm going to quickly just open it here to show you. Let me just make sure it's on your screen as well. Okay. Now I'm still doubting if it's on. Let me just make sure. Okay. Here's your guidelines. What is the PAT? Okay, just another, interrupting myself quickly. Please make sure you read through these 2 pages at least, to make sure you really understand the topic. As I said, if you need more information, I'll be happy to create a video on that for you later on. If you have read through these pages and you're really not sure how to approach this topic yet. But in here, you will get a nice idea of what your focus question can be also. So here you have online transactional financial privacy. How can we protect ourselves when doing online transactions and protecting our financial privacy? So there's a nice focus question for you. Okay, so you can read through these little points here. Whatever you have chosen, just change that into a question for your focus question. Right. Then let's go back to our assessment rubric and see what we need to do next. Okay. So this is basically the biggest part of your phase 1, the part that actually just takes the longest, is your 10 questions. And the way that we are going to approach it now, it takes a bit longer, but it saves you a massive amount of time when you get to phase 3. So here's how we do this. I'm going to go back to my research report. Okay. I have given you 3 headings in your Word document already. This can change. If you prefer having different headings here, you are more than welcome to change it. I've put these in for you as an example and as a suggestion if you don't know, if you're not sure which headings to choose. So I've got general information here. I've got challenges and risks, and I have possible solutions. Okay. So now I'm going to create my 10 questions according to the headings I have here. So let's say I have chosen the social media one, or to focus on social media. Maybe my first question can be, what is social media? Now you can do the next part 1 of 2 ways. I can first think of a question, and then if I am lucky enough to have internet access, and that's not a problem, I can go and put this question into my Google search now, see what comes up, find a nice definition, and then I'm going to take a screenshot of the answer and paste it here. So this must be gone. And I'm going to paste my screenshot that I found of the answer to this question of social media in this block. Then I'm going to retype that screenshot information in my own words in the next table, or cell, sorry, in the next cell of this table, right? Then last thing that I need to do for this question is a URL. I'm going to copy and paste it from where I got this information. So it's going to be something like HTTP, but you're going to copy and paste, so you don't need to retype the whole thing. Okay, So that's the first approach that you can take to this next section. Or the other way that you can do this is not start with the question, but with the resource. So instead of typing out your question and thinking of your question first, I'm going to go to my resources document. There it is. It's a zip folder, so you're going to have to unzip it first. And now I'm going to, you can see there's a massive amount here. And please note that not all of these are going to apply to you, and not all of these are going to be helpful to your specific topic. So you're going to have to sift through these and make sure that it applies to you. For this purpose of the example, I'm just quickly going to select the first one here, the privacy paradox. Let me just make sure that the same screen is open in front of you that I have here, the privacy paradox. So now I go. Let me see what I have here. A theoretical framework. Let me see what they say here. The purpose of this study is to further investigate some of the factors that play a role in the decision-making process of consumers while downloading and installing apps. Okay. So there I already have a question in my mind from reading through this paragraph. I'm going to ask, what are the factors that play a role in the decision-making process of consumers while downloading and installing apps? That's my question. Then I'm going to now look at the answers here that they give. Okay, so let's say, I'm assuming now, because I don't want to waste too much time, but just make sure before you follow my example. Mobile users, privacy and security behavior. I'm assuming that's one of the factors that is considered. So I'm going to screenshot these two headings here. There's a 2.1 and a 2.3, okay? A 2.1 and a 2.2. So then I'm going to take my screenshot and I'm going to go back to my research document, my research report. Now my question was, what are the factors that consumers consider? That whole thing that I said. I'm going to paste my screenshot here. Please make sure you make it a bit easier for the person marking by cropping that nicely. There's my two answers in short. I can make that a little bit bigger to just make it nice and readable. And then I'm going to retype that now in my own words and just go back to the resource now for the URL. Okay, I'm not going to waste too much time trying to look for the URL here, but just you can either go back to the actual resource. There's the URL there. Yeah, www else what. Okay, so I can copy that and just paste that in my research report here where I have the URL. So question 1 done, question 2, question 3 from the same source. So that's the other way now. So method 1 is I think of the question first and then every time go and look at the answer. Method 2 is I open the resource and by reading through the information in the resource, create questions from the information in there. So in other words, I will have maybe question 1, 2, and 3 from this same document that I used for question 1 now, putting privacy paradox, what, okay? So now I'm going to scroll down further and look at some more headings and see if I can create some more questions from this specific resource, okay? If I now do decide to use this, putting the privacy paradox into what, then I need to go. If I use this one, I'm lucky because I can just move it. I'm going to say copy, and I'm going to go back to my PAT phase 1 folder and paste this into my resources folder. Paste. Okay, because I have to have in my phase 1 document a folder with all the resources that I ended up using. If you choose my method 1 where you create the question first, then every time you get an answer, even if it's 10 resources at the end, you still have to go and save those documents that you've used in this resources folder. All right. So I'm going to end this video here so that you can finish creating all of your questions here. Just to quickly go back to the assessment rubric. So I have general information. I have my 3 or 4 questions under general information with my screenshot and my answer in my own words. And that has to be 10 questions. Before I end this video, I just quickly, like I said, want to go back to the assessment rubric here and make you aware of a few things. All questions provided are relevant to the topic. If I'm talking about data protection in social media, every single question must have something to do with social media and data protection. Please, I've had a lot of issues with this in the past where learners had questions that had nothing to do with the topic. The questions must be representative of 3 different cognitive levels. For this one, I have another PowerPoint here for you. I've saved this in your folder with your the rest of your documents, and you can go ahead and just skip to slide number 60. On slide 60, but obviously you don't have to open this. If you have this video open on your screen, you can just use the video to guide you. A level 1 question starts with who, when, where, what, how many. What can be useful is if you go into your actual PowerPoint presentation that I've saved for you, and you copy and paste this little table with the levels into your Word document for yourself while you are creating your questions. And then when you're done, just delete it again. So that when you create your questions, you can say, okay, the first question I'm going to start with what? Then somewhere I need to make sure that I have a question that starts with how. Then somewhere I need to have a question that starts with what if, etc. So that you do this part while you are creating your questions instead of trying to go back and fix if you didn't have the correct levels. Okay, so that's the levels answer there. Back to the assessment rubric. All questions are grouped and classified under headings. Again, this is the headings that I gave you already. You can change them. For more options of different headings, again, I'm going to use this PowerPoint presentation I have here. Now I'm just quickly going to look for it. Here's some more examples of headings if you maybe would like to consider other headings, and you can have your own as well. You don't have to use any of these as long as you have 3 different categories or headings under which your questions are classified. Back to the assessment rubric. At least 3 different categories or groupings of questions. That's the same thing, ne? Yeah, all questions are grouped and there's at least 3 categories. Okay. Possible and appropriate source types we'll get to later. At least 10 questions. So you see, you lose this mark if you don't have 10 questions there. Okay, so that part, now I'm going to stop the video there. That is this part that we just spoke about. Now you can go and create your 10 questions. Make sure you save those sources, you add a print screen, and you retype the answer to your question in your own words. Next video, we'll have the rest of phase 1. Good luck, guys. Oh, and before I end this, please, you're more than welcome to ask questions if you have class with me, in class, obviously, but also in the comments. I always try to get back to you as quickly as possible. You're more than welcome to ask, and I will help where I can. Good luck.